What's good, guys? So a video like this is long overdue, but better late than never, right? So this is going to be the start of a new series where I demystify as much as I can all of the things that you need to know to be really fast on Motorfest, or at the very least faster than you were before. I'll go into NOS management, cuts, clever lines, better starts, and more. But first up in the series is going to be guttering, which separates the bad players from the good players from the absolute best players. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, guttering. What is it? So guttering is just when you dip your inside wheels into the dirt mid-corner. While doing this, your car is going to gain extra grip, which is going to allow you to clear corners much faster than if you just stayed on the pavement. So if you've ever wondered how people can take a few turns and just pull away, yeah, this is your answer. So let's take a look at a few examples because I want to convince you of not only how important it is to gutter, but to hit the gutters consistently for every corner where it's needed. Okay, so in this clip, I'm in the Dodge Viper Lightning Edition. The guys behind me are in the Ferrari F40 and Porsche 993. So we're coming up on a very popular technical section. You see this in quite a few routes. Just pay attention to how much space I'm able to create as I consistently get through these gutters, right? So we went through the first one, got that one just fine, slow down enough to enter the second gutter. We get that smoothly, clean exit. The guys behind me, they're still with me, but we need to keep hitting them. So we got the third gutter. We nailed this one, come out with a smooth exit, and then you can see on the mini-map we're actually starting to create some space now. Now we come up to the final one. I know if I nail this one, I can most likely get away from them. We get this one, the guys behind us, they don't quite get it, and then we create enough space to where they're not in slipstream anymore. Let's look at another one. So in this clip, I'm trailing this time, and I'm in the McLaren P1 Gold Line Edition. So the guy in front of me is in the Aorus, that is the faster car. However, if we can hit all of our gutters, and if they make a mistake, we can capitalize on that. So we nail that gutter, we're coming down to the next turn, we nail this gutter, the guy in front of me, he also gets it. And he starts creating a little bit of space for me because the Aorus does accelerate faster. But then he doesn't get this one, he actually slides around it, but we still get the gutter, and then we close the gap. We come to the next turn, he misses that one as well, overshoots it a little bit, we still get it, and we're able to get a clean overtake. And then we kind of just keep carrying on. Okay, so in this last clip, I'm in the Defender, the Land Rover Defender, and the person that just passed me, they are in the Porsche Carrera RS 2.7, which at the time of making this video is the current meta in Street 1. And we're in a very technical section. There's a lot of gutters going up this hill, and the person who gets the most gutters is the one who's going to come out in the lead. So we both nailed the first two gutters. He actually makes a mistake on this gutter, pops out, overcompensates, and reverse gutters to the left, which gives me the opening to kind of get the pass in, and we just keep it moving, right? We're holding the lead. He tries to come back. There's no space for him to pass because we hold the inside. We nail that gutter. We get to the next gutter, and we hold that. And you see there's a lot of consistency here, right? That's why we're ahead. Get a weird slide here. Doesn't really punish me in terms of pace. We keep going. Get this gutter. And if you notice on the mini-map, we're actually creating space now like we did in the other clips. Final gutter. We get this, and we accelerate out. And we have created enough space again to where they are not in slipstream anymore. I think I've gotten my point across now. So hitting gutters more consistently than your competition is how you can pull away from everyone. And it's also how you can stay in the race with other people who don't miss their gutters. Now, let's go over how to gutter properly. So, I'm in the Legendary Rivalry event in the Donut Media playlist, and this is a great track to practice guttering on. I highly recommend it if you just want to brush up on your skills or you just need to warm up. Great track. So let's go step by step. First, start lining up your car towards the gutter, and if you aren't already at the proper speed, get off the gas and use your brakes to slow down. The most common reason people miss gutters is because they are going way too fast. You need to slow down, otherwise you will not make the gutter. An alternative solution is if you're in manual, you can engine brake, which is when you rapidly downshift your gears to force the car to slow down faster. That's also another strategy. I also recommend turning on the racing line, whether you use the full one or braking only. It's an easy reference point for knowing when to brake. Now, as you're slowing down, you can try to make some minor steering adjustments to line your car up with the gutter a little bit more. Personally though, I would always try to line your car up as best you can before you start braking. Then once your car reaches the gutter, you want to get off the brakes entirely. This is important because if you're still on the brakes and you try to turn in the gutter at the same time, you're going to understeer out of it entirely, right? Your tires only have so much grip. You can't brake, you can't full brake and turn at the same time. Now, once you've reached the gutter, if you came in just a hair too hot or if your line is slightly off, you can stay off the gas until you feel the car is 100% settled in the gutter. Ideally, you don't want to do this because you'll ultimately be going slower doing that, but this is how you can compensate for small errors without having to miss the gutter entirely. Now, once your car is settled, feather the throttle to get some acceleration without overcommitting on the acceleration too soon. If you get on the gas too hard too soon, you'll understeer out of the gutter. You also need to be very precise with your steering to keep your car steady as you progress through the gutter and not accidentally turn out of it. This is where something like direct mode has an advantage. Finally, when you feel the car has enough grip to full send the rest of the gutter, then go 100% on the throttle. And depending on the car and situation, you can actually skip the step of feathering the throttle. If you feel the car can just full send it, then just full send it. And that's the gist of the strategy. So some other good tracks to practice on if you need a little change of scenery are Elite Nation and Masterworks in the Liberty Walk playlist. And then there's also Volcana in the Hoonigan playlist. So I've talked about what I would call low speed gutters so far. You have to slow down a lot to get these gutters. Now let's look at high speed gutters where slowing down is kept to a minimum. So high speed gutters are used to keep your momentum on faster sections of the race and make turns that would otherwise be very difficult to clear at higher speeds. Most cars in this game understeer a lot at higher speeds, so taking advantage of gutters to help with that is important. Let's take a quick look at this clip. So I'm in the Porsche Carrera RS 2.7. The strategy is the same as slow speed gutters, but how you line up your car is slightly different. So I'm starting my turn wide and I'm gradually making my way to the gutter. The reason for this is you want to enter them at a point where your car is traveling about parallel with the curve. This is going to allow your car to naturally sink into the gutter with the most speed possible. Almost the same way as if you were just driving straight and you put your car into the gutter. So with high speed gutters, sometimes you have to brake a little bit for them. Sometimes you can just let off the gas for a second. Sometimes you can just full send the gutter, which is the ideal scenario. And then there are other times where you can actually completely skip the gutter if the car can handle the turn on its own. So you have to use your best judgment on what to do depending on the car you're in and the situation. Alright, so I've told you why guttering is important and how to do it properly. Now let's go over some things outside of just your driving that can help you with guttering. So first up are assists. Set traction control to comfort. This will limit your car's power whenever your back wheels are just about to lose traction. In other words, you're not going to slide coming out of corners. That's important for guttering, especially because two of your wheels aren't even on the pavement. Next is ABS. Make sure this is turned on. This is going to stop your wheels from locking up while braking, and you won't overshoot turns, missing gutters in the process. In other games, the risk of ABS off is usually paired with a reward in overall pace, but in this game, it's a risk, and it's still slower. Next up is direct mode. So, direct mode gives you more control over your steering, which in the long term will allow you to gutter faster. That said, whether you use it or not really depends on why you're playing the game. If you just want to get on, do some races, maybe get some podiums or wins in random lobbies, might not be worth the trouble. If you're trying to compete with sweats, then you do need it. That said, if you're not using it, you can mess around with the steering sensitivity and dynamic max lock sliders to fine-tune your controls. So steering sensitivity just controls how sensitive your car is overall when turning. Dynamic max lock limits your turning angle more and more the faster you go. If you want more detail on any of what I just said, I'll link my direct mode video in the description. Next up is Pro Settings. Pro Settings do have an effect on how your car is going to gutter. This isn't a Pro Settings guide, and to be honest, that needs its own separate dedicated video because there's a lot to unpack with that. And to be honest, making a good tune on this game is more of an art than it is a science. But what I will say is try out different people's tunes and see what works best for you. I'll have my tunes on Militia's website if you want to go try them out. I'll link his site in the description. And lastly, pick cars that are good at guttering. Not all cars handle the same, and thus, not all cars gutter the same. So some cars are exceptional at guttering, some are just okay at it. And then others, well, just don't pick them at all if your route has a lot of gutters. So I'll give you a small list of cars that are really strong at guttering, but also shouldn't be super hard to drive. If you feel like I missed any cars that should be mentioned to everyone else, feel free to drop them in the comments. So for Street 1, you've got the current meta, of course, with the Porsche Carrera RS 2.7. No surprise there. Meta makes you vomit. There's also the Nissan S14, the Mazda RX-7 Turbo 10th Anniversary, the Land Rover Defender 110 V8, which is insane at guttering, and also the Corvette C2 2.0 edition, which is the car I was using earlier to break down guttering. For Street 2, you have the Ferrari F40, which is most known as part of the current meta. As always, if you hate the meta though, there's the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1, which likely gutters the fastest out of any car in the entire class. You also have the Nissan GTR Haru Edition, the Lamborghini Diablo GT, the Dodge Viper Lightning Edition, Scotto's Audi, which that's actually a surprise, it's actually very good at guttering, and then of course the upcoming Black Panther's Nissan R34. For racing, you've got the Chevrolet Camaro SS. It's probably the easiest car to gutter with in the entire class. There's also the Gordon Murray T50S, which is the current meta as we know. Its suspension can make it a little bit tricky to gutter with if you're not careful, but I'll add it to the list anyway because it's very good at guttering. For the off meta, you have the KTM X-Wheel GT2, the KTM X-Wheel GT4 Raw Edition. It's very good at guttering. And then there's the Lamborghini Gallardo Super Trofeo. And lastly, for hypercar, you've got the Gordon Murray T50, which completely annihilates gutters, and the suspension issue on this is not nearly as bad as it is on the T50S from racing, in my opinion. And for the meta haters, you have the Noble M600, the McLaren P1 Gold Line Edition, that's a personal favorite of mine, and the Bugatti EB110 Anodized Edition. As for the other classes, guttering in Alpha GP is unnecessary. You can just stick to the pavement in that class since the cars have more than enough grip to clear the turns normally. Rally has gutters on some occasions, but don't pick your rally car based on how well it gutters. That's not the main point of the rally routes. And then rally raid guttering is non-existent, so don't worry about it. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. As always, if you found this content helpful, let me know in the comments, and also let me know what you want to see next. The next one I have planned though is NOS management, which from what I can see is what people struggle with the most. So that's going to be a fun one to make. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.